I never thought I'd torch my own legacy just to watch her burn. But when Dahlia, my rock, my silent fury, whispered the plan into the dark of our hidden loft, I knew mercy was for suckers who'd already lost. The match struck, and with it, the empire we'd built in the shadows went up in flames, taking her precious little secrets with it. She'd framed me for the fraud that sank our first joint venture. Let me rot in county lockup for 18 months while she played the grieving widow to the banks. All so she could skim millions and vanish into the night with our unborn dreams.
But Dahlia?
She was the wild card I never saw coming, the one who'd been pulling strings from the grave of our marriage, waiting for the perfect moment to flip the board. The wind off Lake Michigan howled like a jilted lover that October evening in 2023, whipping through the skeleton of what would become Dahlia's Table, my dream restaurant, tucked into a forgotten corner of Chicago's West Loop where the old meatpacking plants met the shiny new condos. I'd sunk everything into it, my savings from 15 years slinging plates at Michelin-starred joints, the hush money from that ugly divorce settlement, and every ounce of spite I'd bottled up since Elena walked out. Elena, my ex-wife, the woman who'd once promised me the world over late-night tacos in our Pilsen walk-up, only to gut me like a fish when the going got good. It started small, the betrayal. We'd built a food truck empire together back in 2015, Elena handling the books, me in the kitchen fusing Oaxacan moles with Midwest game. We're unstoppable. Mia Moore, she'd say, her dark eyes flashing like the serrano peppers we roasted. But by 2019, the trucks were raking in six figures, and Elena got ideas. Bigger ideas. Private investors, expansion loans, the kind of money that turns grease-stained dreamers into boardroom players. I trusted her.
Hell.
I loved her. So when the auditors came calling, accusing us of cooking the books, falsified invoices, phantom suppliers, I took the hit. Signed the plea deal without a fight. 18 months in Cook County Jail, where the food was worse than prison slop and the nights were a parade of regrets. What I didn't know then, what Elena buried deeper than Jimmy Hoffa's bones, was that it was all her. She'd siphoned off $2.3 million, funneled it into offshore accounts under shell companies named after our dead dog's favorite toys. The feds never traced it back to her because I confessed to it all, swearing on a stack of Bibles that it was my scheme, my greed. To protect the family, I told my lawyer, thinking of the kid we never had, the life we'd sketched on napkins. But Elena? She was already packing for Miami, shacked up with a hedge fund prick named Marcus by the time I got out.
Parole in 2021.
And I clawed my way back. Washed dishes at a greasy spoon in Logan Square. Saved every nickel. Networked with the ghosts of my old chef life. Dahlia entered the picture like a storm front, literally. It was a brutal nor'easter in 22. The kind that floods the L tracks and turns the city into a watercolor smear. I was huddled under the awning of an abandoned warehouse, sketching menu ideas on a soggy legal pad, when she pulled up in a battered Ford F-150. Headlights cutting the rain like accusations. "You look like hell," she said, hopping out without an umbrella, her black curls plastered to a face that could have launched 1,000 Ticarius. Mid-30s. Built like she could wrestle a steer and win, with tattoos snaking up her arms, roses thorns deep into Aztec skulls. Dahlia Ramirez. Ex-line cook turned real estate hustler. The kind of woman who flipped foreclosures in Pilsen for fun and volunteered at immigrant kitchens on Sundays. We talked for hours that night, trading war stories over lukewarm coffee from her thermos. She got it, the burn of betrayal, The way kitchens strip you bare. By dawn, she'd offered me a loan, $250,000. No strings. From her side gigs. I didn't ask questions. Desperate men don't. Dahlia became my shadow partner after that. Not on paper, God.
No.
She insisted on the down low. Her name nowhere near the LLC for Dahlia's table. Ghosts like us, she'd say. We haunt from the corners. She fronted the cash through a series of cashier's checks routed through her cousin's auto shop. Handled the permits with bribes that smelled like street cred instead of corruption. In return, equity unspoken. And her hand in the dough, literally. Late nights. We'd test recipes in her garage oven. Duck confit tacos with quince aioli. Heirloom bean stews simmered with epazote from her abuela's garden. She was the yin to my yang. The quiet storm that kept me from crumbling. Elena slithered back into my life 6 months into the build-out. Right around Memorial Day 23. I'd just signed the lease on the 4,000-square-foot space, a gutted brick beauty with exposed beams, and a loading dock that screamed, farm-to-table authenticity. The crew was framing walls. The electrician wiring for those pendant lights I'd salvaged from a teardown in Bridgeport. I was elbow-deep in tile samples when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Miami area code. Miss me? Chef. Her voice. Honey over habaneros. The same lilt that used to melt me after shifts. I froze. Grout dust caking my jeans. What do you want?
Ellen?
A laugh. Sharp as broken glass. Heard you're playing house with some fixer-upper. Thought I'd offer my congratulations. And maybe
Advice.
she'd been tracking me. Through mutuals in the scene. No doubt, chefs talk. And Chicago's food world is smaller than a tasting menu. By July, the sabotage started. Subtle at first, anonymous tips to the health department about unpermitted renovations, delaying inspections for weeks. Then the suppliers ghosted. My go-to purveyor for heritage pork suddenly claimed bankruptcy, citing bad vibes. I smelled her perfume on it. That cloying vanilla orchidea from our wedding night. Dahlia caught wind over beers at Maria's packaged goods one humid evening. We were crammed in a corner booth. The jukebox crooning Selena. When she slid a manila folder across the scarred oak table. Inside, printouts from a PI sheet hired on a whim. Bank records. Wire transfers. Even a blurry photo of Elena and Marcus at a South Beach yacht club, toasting with champagne flutes that probably cost more than my build-out budget. She's leveraged, Dahlia said, her voice low, eyes like polished obsidian. That money she stole? It's propping up Marcus's failing crypto scam. One nudge, and it all tumbles. I stared at the photo. Rage bubbling like over-reduced demi-glace. Why tell me now? Because your family...
Cabron.
And families got receipts. That night, as the L train rattled overhead, I made my first controversial call. I didn't go to the cops. Statute of limitations be damned. Or maybe not. Dahlia's folder hinted at fresh laundering.
No.
I called in a favor from an old cellmate.
Tito.
Now running security for a Loop casino. Dig up dirt, I told him. The kind that sticks. By August, the restaurant was framing up, but Elena escalated. She filed a bogus lien against the property, claiming I owed her half from our marital assets, the food truck equity I'd forfeited in the divorce. It froze the accounts, stalled the plumbers. My general contractor, a burly Pole named Stan, pulled his crew, muttering about legal bullshit. I was hemorrhaging cash, sleeping on a cot in the back office, the air thick with sawdust and despair. Dahlia showed up at midnight with empanadas and a plan. We sat on overturned milk crates amid the exposed ducts, the city lights filtering through plastic sheeting like distant stars. "We hit her where it hurts," she said, unwrapping foil packets steaming with beef and potato. "Not with fists, with forks." Her idea was elegant in its viciousness, a whisper campaign. Leak the fraud to the right ears, food bloggers, investor forums. The kind of online hives where reputations curdle overnight. But twist it, frame it as Elena's comeback story gone wrong, a cautionary tale for aspiring moguls. Dahlia had contacts in the Latino business network, women who'd been burned by snakes like her. One post on a private Facebook group, and it snowballed. Heard Elena Vasquez is back in Chi, peddling bad karma with her Miami millions. Who's got the receipts? The backlash was swift. Marcus's crypto bros started sniffing around, and by September, Elena was blowing up my phone again. "You son of a bitch," she hissed one dawn, as I scrubbed grout from my hands in a gas station bathroom. "You think you can smear me? I'll bury that shithole before it opens." "Try it," I shot back, heart pounding like a maraca. I've got nothing left to lose.
But she did.
And that's when Dahlia stepped fully into the light, or the shadows, depending on how you saw it. Turns out, my secret partner wasn't just a lender. She was Elena's half-sister, estranged since their teens when Elena had ratted her out to CPS for a petty theft ring to cover her own ass. Dahlia had changed her name,
Cut ties.
built her own empire from the ashes. The loan? It was restitution, laced with revenge. "I want in," Dahlia said that night, her tattooed fingers drumming the crate. All the way, we shook on it, sealing the pact with a shot of mezcal from her flask. Little did Elena know, the woman she'd betrayed twice, once as family, once as a phantom, was about to orchestrate the unmaking. The opening gala was set for November 15th, a soft launch with influencers and local pals. Invites went out on embossed cards scented with smoked paprika. I'd curated the menu like a confession, dishes named for betrayals past, widow's mole, a dark chocolate sauce over venison. Bitter as regret. Dahlia handled the wine list, sourcing bottles from California growers who'd been screwed by big distributors, irony not lost on us. Elena crashed the final walkthrough 2 weeks out, striding in like she owned the joint, flanked by a sleazy attorney in a sharkskin suit. The space was nearly done, reclaimed wood tables gleaming under Edison bulbs. The open kitchen a stainless steel altar. She wore a red sheath dress that hugged her like a vice, heels clicking accusations on the concrete floor. "Nice setup," she purred, trailing manicured nails along the bar. "But it's all smoke and mirrors." "That lean's just the start. I've got friends at the fire marshal, the liquor board. One call, and poof, your little fantasy goes up in regulatory flames." Her lawyer nodded, a ferret-faced man with a briefcase full of injunctions. "Mr. Vasquez, we're prepared to settle out of court. 50 grand. And we walk." I laughed, a hollow bark that echoed off the walls. Dahlia emerged from the walk-in, wiping her hands on a towel, her presence filling the room like a gathering thunderhead. Elena's eyes narrowed, recognition flickering. Then denial. "Who's this?" Elena snapped. "My partner," I said simply. "Dahlia." The air crackled. Elena's face drained of color, then flushed crimson. "Partner? You mean your side piece? How quaint." Dahlia smiled, slow and serpentine. "More than that.
Hermana.
Remember the summer of '98? When you sold me out to save your skin? Elena's laugh was forced.
Brittle.
You're delusional. I don't know you.
But she did.
And, in that moment, the scales tipped. As they stormed out, threats hanging like exhaust fumes, Dahlia turned to me, eyes alight. Now we cook. What followed was a blitz of calculated chaos. Tito's dirt came through, photos of Elena and Marcus entertaining investors who turned out to be Colombian cartel scouts, laundering tips through her philanthropy galas. We didn't go public, not yet. Instead, Dahlia funneled it to an old contact at the Sun-Times, a reporter named Carla who'd covered my fraud trial with kid gloves. Human interest, Dahlia coached. The chef who rose from the ashes, betrayed by the wife who lit the match. The piece dropped October 30th. Front page of the Metro section. From jail cell to kitchen throne, a Chicago chef's vengeful feast. It painted Elena as the villain, me as the anti-hero. With just enough ambiguity to spark debates in comment sections. Was I a victim or a vengeful prick? Dahlia stayed anonymous, her fingerprints invisible. Elena retaliated hard. The night before opening, sirens wailed as fire trucks swarmed the block. Arson, they said, Molotovs through the loading dock window, gutting the dry goods pantry. Flames licked the rafters, smoke billowing like a funeral pyre. I arrived in my boxers, heart in my throat, to find firefighters hosing down the embers. The damage? $80,000 easy. Insurance a joke for a soft launch. Inside, amid the char and ash, Dahlia stood untouched, a ghost in the gloom. She thinks she's won, she murmured, handing me a singed menu card. But we rebuild better. That was the first fracture in my resolve. Arson was a line crossed. And part of me, the part that still remembered Elena's laugh in the rain, wondered if we'd pushed too far. Dahlia saw it in my eyes. Don't go soft now, she warned. This is war.
And war it became.
With opening postponed, we pivoted. Dahlia called in her network, contractors who owed her favors from flips, suppliers who'd been blackballed by Elena's old firm. By mid-November, the place was phoenix risen. Stronger, steel shutters on the dock. Cameras everywhere. The gala night arrived under a harvest moon, the loop pulsing with post-game crowds from the United Center. Valet parked Beamers and Tahoes out front, where a chalkboard sign read, "Revenge is a dish best served sizzling."
Inside,
the air hummed with jazz from a trio in the corner, sax weeping over clinking glasses. I'd pulled strings for a sommelier buddy from Illinois, and the bar flowed with elixirs that masked the bitterness. Elena showed, of course. Slipped in like smoke. Marcus at her elbow, both in black tie that screamed old money. She made the rounds, air-kissing bloggers, her smile a stiletto. I watched from the pass, flipping arepas, sweat beading under my whites. When she approached the chef's table, reserved for VIPs, now occupied by Carla the reporter, Dahlia intercepted, a server with a tray of shooters. To absent friends, Dahlia toasted,
her voice carrying.
Elena froze, glass halfway to her lips. You, Elena hissed, low enough for deniability. This is your doing? Dahlia leaned in, breath mingling. Blood's thicker than theft. Elena. You taught me that. The confrontation rippled outward, whispers chasing them like aftershocks. Marcus tugged her arm, but she shrugged him off, storming toward me. The kitchen doors swung, and there she was, inches away, the heat lamps casting her face in hellish glow. "You think this ends it?" she spat, mascara smudging like war paint. "I'll drag you down with me. The feds? They're already looking. Your little fraud confession? It's unraveling." I set down my tongs, voice steady as a knife edge. "Then let's unravel together." She lunged, not with fists, but words. A torrent of accusations that peeled back the marriage like old wallpaper. The staff hovered, phones discreetly recording. Dahlia appeared at my shoulder, a silent sentinel. Elena saw her then. Really saw her, the half-sister she'd erased, now the architect of her undoing. "You bitch," Elena whispered, backing away. "You're both going to hell." Marcus hauled her out, the gala swallowing the drama like a well-timed palate cleanser. Later, as the last guests trickled away, Dahlia and I tallied the night. Sold-out seating. Rave reviews trickling onto Yelp. But victory tasted like ash. December crept in with a vengeance, snow dusting the fire escapes like powdered sugar on a failed soufflé. Dahlia's table was a hit, reservations booked 2 months out, lines snaking down Randolph Street on weekends. Critics from the Tribune called it a gritty ode to resilience, while Eater dubbed the mole the revenge dish Chicago didn't know it craved. I was riding high, or so I told myself. But the shadows lengthened. Elena's threats weren't bluster. Subpoenas started landing like snowflakes. IRS audits probing the restaurant's unconventional funding. My lawyer, a harried public defender type, advised folding, settle, or she'll bleed you dry. Dahlia disagreed. Of course. We met in her Pilsen loft after close one Friday. The city a blanket of twinkling frost below. Her place was a mosaic of salvaged lives, mismatched tiles from demolished factories, murals of La Llorona weeping over high-rises. She poured us tequilas neat, the bottle sweating on a crate that doubled as a coffee table. "She's desperate," Dahlia said, clinking glasses. Her eyes held that feral glint, the one that surfaced when talk turned to payback. Marcus's fund imploded last week, SEC sniffing around his innovative blockchain philanthropy. Your Sun-Times piece lit the fuse. I sipped, the agave burning a path to truths I'd avoided. "And you? What's your angle? Really? This isn't just about the loan." She set her glass down, deliberate. "Elena's not just my half-sister. She's the reason I spent foster homes bouncing like a bad check. Ratted me to the cops at 16 for shoplifting. Her idea? Her score. Mom died in the fallout.
Od inžiniero on guilt.
I rebuilt without her.
But you."
She trailed off, tracing a thorn tattoo. "You remind me of the kid I was.
Hungry.
Unbroken. Vulnerability from Dahlia? It unnerved me. We'd always been allies in the abstract, partners in plot, not pain. But that night, as snow tapped the windows like impatient fingers, she shared the buried secret. Elena hadn't just stolen the truck money. She'd framed me to cover a bigger sin. During my jail stint, she'd miscarried our child, twins, viable at 20 weeks, and lied to the doctors, claiming domestic abuse to score a payout from the settlement. The Grieving Widow Act? It masked her termination of the only family we'd ever have. Her choice to erase us both. I found the records, Dahlia confessed, sliding another folder across. Medical files. Redacted but damning, dates aligning with my incarceration. Notes on elective procedure under duress. She bore nothing. You carried it all, the blame. The bars. The barren years. Rage hit like a gut punch, doubling me over. Not grief, fury. Pure and volcanic. Elena hadn't just betrayed me, she'd weaponized our loss. Turned my sacrifice into her escape hatch. I wanted her broken, not just bested. Dahlia watched, unblinking. What now? The plan coalesced over the next week. A toxin slow brewed. Controversial? Hell yes. We'd expose her, not to the courts, but the court of public opinion, amplified by the one tool Elena feared most, her socialite facade. She was launching a Women in Business nonprofit in Miami, a gala fundraiser at the Fontainebleau. All proceeds to empower Latina entrepreneurs. Irony dripped thicker than mole sauce. Dahlia's network was a web spun from necessity. Ex-cons turned coders. Bloggers with grudges. Even a rogue accountant from Marcus's firm. We crafted the leak like a tasting menu, courses of revelation. First, anonymous drops to podcast hosts. Elena's fraud spun as systemic betrayal of immigrant dreamers. By mid-December, episodes aired. The Kitchen Con, how one woman's lies starved a community. The backlash was biblical. Sponsors pulled from her gala. Marcus's board ousted him in a midnight Zoom, citing reputational risk. Elena fired back online. A tearful Instagram live from their oceanfront condo. My ex is a monster. Twisting our pain for clicks. I lost everything, our babies. My soul because of him. Comments fractured. Team Elena for the abused survivor. Justice for Chef for the framed father. I watched it unfold from the restaurant's office. A shoebox crammed with ledgers and regret. Dahlia crashed there most nights now. Our partnership blurring into something rawer, hands brushing over inventory sheets. Silences heavy with what-ifs. One blizzard-lashed evening. As vents hummed overhead, she kissed me. Not soft. Not tentative. A collision of survivors. Tasting of salt and smoke. This is us, she murmured against my neck. No ghosts. But ghosts don't die easy. Christmas Eve. The restaurant packed with last-minute revelers, families in ugly sweaters. Couples toasting under mistletoe. I got the call. Tito. Voice gravel rough. She's coming for you. Hard. Elena had gone nuclear.
Hired pistotail Dahlia.
Unearthed her foster records. Twisted them into a smear. My sister's a criminal. Manipulating my ex for revenge porn. It hit the Miami Herald at noon. Just as we plated holiday specials. Pozole rojo with hominy pearls. Garnished with lime whispers. By shift's end, my inbox overflowed. Cancellations. Hate mail. A death threat scrawled on a napkin left at the bar. Dahlia laughed it off, but her eyes were storms. She's flipping the script. Time to rewrite the ending. Our counterstrike was the high-wire act. The decision that'd split readers down the middle. Was it justice or jihad? We didn't sue. We subverted. Dahlia reached out to Elena's gala co-chair, a progressive influencer named Sophia with a massive TikTok following, 1.2 million Latinos hungry for truth over tea. Over encrypted signal. Dahlia spilled. The miscarriage files. The cartel whispers. Elena's history of flipping allies for advantage. Not for clicks, Dahlia typed. For the women she pretends to save. Sophia bit.
Hard.
New Year's Eve. As Dahlia's table rang in 2024 with a mariachi band and midnight champagne sabers. Sophia's thread dropped, a 10-part expose. Visuals stark, redacted docs blurred for drama. Elena's yacht photos captioned, champagne on stolen tears. It went viral. 50 million views by dawn. Elena exposed trended. Protests forming outside the Fontainebleau, signs reading not all moguls are mothers.
Elena cracked.
Text flooded my phone. Stop this.
Please.
Marcus left. I'm alone. Then. The plea. Meet me. Chicago. Neutral ground. The Blackstone Hotel. A loop landmark with chandeliers like frozen waterfalls. January 5th. 3 p.m. The lobby a hush of leather armchairs and the faint chime of a grandfather clock. I arrived early. Nerves jangling like loose change. Dahlia waiting in the wings, lurking in a cafe across the street. Her F-150 idling. Elena swept in 10 minutes late, gaunt in a cashmere coat. No makeup to hide the hollows under her eyes. We ordered coffees, black. No sugar, and sat like combatants at a truce table. You win, she said. Voice a rasp. The gala's cancelled. The money's frozen. Feds raided the condo yesterday. Cartel ties? It's bullshit. But they'll pin it anyway. I stirred my cup, the spoon clinking judgment. Should have thought of that before the Molotovs. Her laugh was a sob. That was a me. Marcus, panicking, covering tracks. But the lean, the tips?
Yeah.
Desperation.
Jake.
You were rising.
And I
couldn't let you eclipse me. The confession unspooled. The fraud. Her fear of motherhood. The abortion she'd hidden even from herself. I loved you, she whispered. But not enough to share the light. Pity stirred. Treacherous. This woman who'd gutted me now seemed small. A sparrow in a hawk's shadow. Why frame me fully? Why not just leave? Because you were the good part. The part one couldn't be. Taking you down? It made me feel. Even. Dahlia's text buzzed. She's lying. PI confirms Marcus' alibi. She was there. I glanced out the window. Her truck a sentinel in the slush. Elena caught the look. Who's really pulling your strings? That woman, Dahlia? She's poison.
Jake.
Foster kid with a rap sheet. Using you like she used her marks. The flip, Elena's specialty. Victim to viper in a breath. I stood, chair scraping. Game over. As I walked out, her plea chased me. What about forgiveness?
Second chance.
Outside. Snow flurried. Dahlia pulling up curbside. She didn't ask, just drove. The heater blasting away the cold. That night, in her loft, we plotted the climax, the move that'd polarize everything. Not arrest. Not exposure. Entrapment. We'd lure Marcus back. Use Elena as bait. Dahlia's coder buddy hacked a dummy email from a discreet investor, offering $5 mil to launder through the restaurant's books. Bait, a pop-up partnership gala at Dahlia's table. Themed redemption plates. Elena bit. Desperate, for a lifeline. Agreeing to co-host under the table, her name on invites. Her face the draw. The event was set for Valentine's. The restaurant transformed, heart-shaped lanterns. Menus of aphrodisiacs. Oysters with chili caviar. Chocolate tamales laced with cinnamon heat. Invites went to Elena's circle, shady financiers. Cartel-adjacent socialites. Marcus arrived fashionably late, slick in a velvet blazer. Elena on his arm like a trophy bruise. They worked the room, schmoozing, oblivious to the cameras Dahlia had wired, hidden in salt shakers, disguised as mic stands. Tito's team manned the doors, frisking for wires. By dessert, Marcus was tipsy, cornered at the bar by our investor, Dahlia in a blonde wig and pantsuit, voice modulated to a generic drawl. Cash flow's king, she purred, sliding a contract. Sign here, and your troubles vanish. He did, pen scratching as Elena hovered, eyes darting to me across the floor. I nodded, the signal. As Marcus pocketed the flash drive, loaded with malware to trace his accounts. Sirens wailed. Not feds, Chicago PD. Tipped anonymously with the contract as probable cause for fraud. Chaos erupted. Screams. Overturned chairs. Marcus bolting for the kitchen only to slam into Tito's wall of muscle.
Elena spoon.
Face ashen. You set us up. Dahlia shed the wig. Curls tumbling. Family reunion. Elena. You started it. Cuffs clicked. Marcus cursing in 3 languages. Elena's glare ablaze. As they dragged her out, she locked eyes with me. This isn't revenge. It's murder of who we were. The room emptied. Influencers live tweeting the takedown. Valentine's bust trended. Debates raging. Heroic sting or vicious vigilante. Dahlia and I cleaned up till dawn. Shards of glass and shattered illusions underfoot. Spring thawed Chicago slow, like a hangover after a bender. By March 2024, the trials were tabloid fodder. Marcus flipping on Elena for a plea. Her indicted on wire fraud, money laundering, even conspiracy tied to those investor meets. The cartel angle fizzled smoke. Not fire, but the miscarriage files leaked in discovery, turning her into a pariah. Sentencing loomed in June. Whispers of 15 to 20 in federal white-collar hell. Dahlia's table thrived in the afterglow, a mecca for the schadenfreude set. We added a betrayal board, a chalkboard of customer-submitted tales, paired with themed cocktails like the Backstabbers Negroni. Revenue doubled. Zagat bumped us to exceptional. But success is a jealous mistress. Dahlia and I drifted into domesticity's undertow, mornings tangled in her loft sheets, evenings debating purveyors over post-shift malort. She was my anchor, but anchors drag. The first crack showed in April, over a mundane spat, a sommelier poaching our wine rep. I wanted to confront. Dahlia counseled patience, her old foster kid wariness surfacing. Storms pass, she said. But I saw the flicker, ambition. The same hunger that had built her flips. Whispers from the line, Dahlia scouting locations up north. Evanston co-ops with bigger footprints. You expanding without me? I joked one night, plating test runs of ramp risotto in the empty dining room. Her laugh was off-key. Always room for partners. Elena's trial started May 15th. Federal courthouse in the loop, a fortress of marble and metal detectors. I testified third day. The stand a confessional under fluorescent glare. The prosecutor, a whip-smart AUSA named Reyes, walked me through the fraud, invoices I'd signed in ignorance, Elena's diversions to Cayman trusts. Cross-exam was brutal, her lawyer painting me as the bitter ex, a chef scorned with a grudge as sharp as his knives. Then Elena took the stand. Poised in a navy suit, hair in a chignon like armor, she dismantled us. Jake was always the hothead, she told the jury, voice steady. The fraud? His idea? To chase stars. I covered for him. Like always.
The procedure?
A tragedy we shared, but he blamed me from the start. Tears. Artful.
Dahlia?
She's the interloper. A con artist I cut ties with years ago for her own good. This revenge? It's their fantasy, not my crime. The courtroom buzzed. Jurors leaned in, women nodding, men shifting. Dahlia, in the gallery, gripped my hand under the bench, nails drawing half-moons. But doubt seated, Had we manufactured her fall? Was Dahlia's vendetta bleeding into mine? Post-trial drinks at the Billy Goat. Under Wrigleyville's neon hum.
Tito bought rounds.
Toasting to the takedown. Dahlia was electric, dissecting Elena's performance like a flawed soufflé. She's flipping again, victim card. Classic. But I saw the strain, calls from her realtor contacts spiking, her truck vanishing for scout runs to Milwaukee. The twist hit June 1st. Verdict pending. A courier delivered a package to the restaurant, brown paper. No return. Inside, a USB drive and a note in Elena's script. Watch before you gloat.
Love. A.
Dahlia and I plugged it into the office laptop. The screen blooming with grainy footage. Security cam from our old food truck lot. Timestamp 2020, me in jail.
Elena grieving.
She met a man there. Hooded. Handoff of a duffel. Then audio. Clipped from a burner phone. Elena's voice. Clear as confession. The books are clean now. Jake took the fall. Here's your cut, $500K. As promised. The man? Dahlia's ex. Raul, her foster brother. The one she'd built her flips with. The betrayal layered. Elena hadn't just framed me. She'd paid off Dahlia's past to ensure silence, weaving us all in her web. But the deeper cut, Raul's voice, responding. You owe me more, Jimena. Dahlia's sniffing too close. Shut her down. Or I will. Dahlia recoiled. Face ashen.
She
bought him to bury me. The drive held more. Emails between Elena and Raul. Plotting Dahlia's disappearance from the scene, framed evictions. Bogus liens on her properties. Elena's moxie. Flipping even her half-sister's ally for control. But the gut punch? A final file. My prison letters to Elena. Scanned and annotated. I love you. Fight for us. Her margins, scoffs. Red pen slashing my pleas. Why show us? Dahlia whispered. The note's flip side, because truth's the real revenge. Jury sees this tomorrow, anonymous drop. We're even. She turned the tables one last time. Leaking to sabotage her own defense? No, smarter. By exposing her accomplices, Elena positioned as the coerced, the woman caught in a man's world of deceit. Raul arrested that night. Miami PD raiding his flophouse. Elena's lawyer moved for mistrial, citing new evidence of broader conspiracy. The courtroom erupted June 3rd. Jurors dismissed. Mistrial granted. Elena's charges downgraded to misdemeanor restitution. Time served pending appeal. She walked, free on bond, into a swarm of cameras. Justice isn't revenge, she told them, eyes finding mine in the crowd. It's facing the mirrors we shatter. Dahlia vanished that afternoon. Her loft empty, truck gone. A post-it on the fridge, storms pass. Build your own.
D.
I drove north. Milwaukee's sprawl blurring in rain. Found her at a brew pub site, clipboard in hand, haggling with contractors. Partner? I called. She turned, wind-whipped, that serpentine smile. Thought you'd burned out. We talked till dusk, about flips and falls, the gray of good intentions. Dahlia's secret? She'd known about Raul for months. Used Elena's gala as bait to smoke him out. The USB? Her plant. Through a mole in Elena's camp.
Twist for twist, she said.
But you deserved the truth. Controversy clung like humidity. Elena's reduced sentence sparked op-eds. Feminist fail or systemic mercy? Dahlia's table became a pilgrimage for the divided, pilgrims debating over widow's mole, if Elena was monster or martyr, Dahlia angel or avenger.
Me?
I sold my share to Dahlia that fall. Pocketed enough for a quiet farm upstate, goats, not grudges. Last I heard, Elena's in therapy, writing a memoir titled Forked Paths. Dahlia's empire sprawls from Chi to the dairy state, her lofts havens for the hustled. And me? I cook for strays now. Moles mild as memory. Revenge? It sates, but leaves you hollow. In the end, no one's all right or all wrong, just survivors. Flipping skillets in the dark. Was it justice? You tell me. The dish is served.